Does the bulge between my legs intrigue you, human? Is that why you're acting strange, Lieutenant Commander Marcus Ray? Couldn't focus on the trade agreement, not with that distraction right across the table. The Zilirian ambassador sat. With perfect posture, one leg crossed over the other, causing her khaki shorts to ride up just enough to reveal Marcus. Forced his eyes back to the data pad. The Isolarian Earth trade agreement was critical. Earth needed their advanced propulsion technology, and the Insilurians wanted Earth's agricultural techniques, simple enough except nothing. Felt simple with Ambassador Thalia watching him with those piercing silver eyes. Commander Ray, you haven't commented on the proposed exchange rates. Admiral Harrington's voice cut through Marcus' distraction. I believe they are acceptable, Marcus managed, clearing his throat, though I'd suggest a phased implementation over 3 Earth years rather than immediate adoption. He risked another glance at Thalia. The orange-skinned alien smiled, her freckles like scattered stars across her face, seeming to shimmer under the conference room lights when she uncrossed her legs. To lean forward, Marcus caught another glimpse of what had been distracting him all morning. There was definitely something there, a bulge where human women most certainly didn't have bulges. Had he missed something in the briefing? Was Thalia a male or something else? Entirely human-Zilarian relations were still new, barely 2 years since first contact. The diplomatic corps had provided cultural briefings, but anatomy hadn't been covered in detail perhaps. Thalia's melodic voice drew him back to the present. We should consider Commander Ray's suggestion. A phased approach would allow both our peoples to adjust to the new technologies. Her eyes locked with his, a knowing glint in them that made his face heat. Excellent. Admiral Harrington nodded. We'll break for lunch and reconvene in 2 hours to finalize the details. As the room cleared, Marcus gathered his notes, hopping to escape before Commander Ray. Thalia's voice, closer than expected, made him jump. You seem distracted today. Is something troubling you about our agreement? Up close, her scent was intoxicating, something like cinnamon and sea salt. Her silvery white hair cascaded over one shoulder, and her form-fitting top accentuated curves that were remarkably human-like, except for that one detail. Not at all Ambassador, just considering all angles of the agreement. All angles? Her lips quirked upward. How thorough of you. Perhaps we could discuss these angles over lunch privately before Marcus could formulate a response that wouldn't sound like diplomatic suicide. Admiral Harrington appeared beside them. Ray, a moment before you go. Thalia inclined her head. I'll await you in the embassy dining room, Commander. As she walked away, Marcus couldn't help but notice the graceful sway of her hips. Ray Harrington's voice dropped to a whisper. Stop staring at the ambassador's ass and get your head in the game. This agreement is too important for you to be distracted by interspecies hormones, sir. I save it. I don't care if she's got 3 heads or tentacles. She's an ambassador, not a short-lived fling. Yes, sir. Understood. As Harrington walked away, Marcus exhaled slowly. The Admiral had misinterpreted his distraction, but he wasn't about to correct him. The embassy dining room was nearly empty when Marcus arrived. Thalia sat alone at a corner table, a glass of something purple before her. Commander, she gestured to the seat across from her. I took the liberty of ordering you water. I understand humans require significant hydration. Thank you, Ambassador. He sat, trying to keep his eyes firmly on her face. Please, when we're alone, call me Thalia. Then I'm Marcus. She smiled, revealing teeth that were slightly sharper than human ones. Marcus, a strong name from your Roman mythology. Yes, the war gods. Month you've studied our culture, of course. Understanding is the foundation of diplomacy. She took a sip of her purple drink, just as observation is the beginning of understanding. Her eyes held his challenging. I've noticed you observing me quite intently today, Marcus, particularly certain aspects of my physiology. His mouth went dry. Ambassador Thalia, I apologize if I've been inappropriate. She laughed, a sound like wind chimes. No need for apologies. Curiosity is natural, especially when encountering something unfamiliar. She leaned forward. You're wondering about the bulge between my legs, aren't you? Marcus nearly choked on his water. Does it intrigue you? Is that why you're acting strange? I'm sorry, he managed. I didn't mean to stare. I just wasn't sure if I'd missed something important in our briefings about Zarian biology. Thalia's expression softened. Your diplomatic corps has been thorough, but perhaps not comprehensive. Female Zilarians carry our reproductive organs in an external protective pouch. It's quite different from human females. But I assure you I am female by both our species definitions. Relief washed over him, followed immediately by embarrassment. I see, thank you for explaining. I apologize for my ignorance. Never apologize for seeking knowledge, Marcus. Her hand moved across the table, fingers brushing his. In fact, I find your curiosity refreshing. Most humans I've met pretend not to notice our differences. Her touch sent an unexpected jolt through him. Well, I'm a tactical officer, not a diplomat. Observation is part of my training, and what else have you observed about me? Her voice dropped lower before he could answer. His commune buzzed. Ray here, Commander. Admiral Harrington's voice crackled. We need you in the security office now. Marcus stood, giving Thalia an apologetic look. Duty calls. I'll see you at the afternoon session. As he walked away, Thalia called after him, I look forward to continuing our cultural exchange, Commander. Something in her tone made him wonder if they were still talking about diplomacy at all. A Zarian bonding ceremony. Marcus adjusted the collar of his dress uniform as he stood outside Thalia's quarters that evening. I'm not sure what I was expecting when you invited me, but it wasn't this. Thalia's door slid open, revealing her in a flowing silver garment that complemented her orange skin and star-like freckles. A delicate chain with glowing blue stones adorned her neck. Having second thoughts, Commander? Her silver eyes sparkled with amusement. Not at all, just wondering if I'm dressed appropriately for a cultural ritual I know nothing about. She stepped aside to let him enter. Her quarters were transformed. Soft blue lights created a twilight atmosphere, and the air was fragrant with something like jasmine and cedar. Your uniform is perfect, she said, circling him slowly. The ceremony honors warriors who protect their people. You qualify. Marcus watched her move, graceful as a dancer. And what exactly does this ceremony entail? Sharing, she gestured to a low table set with strange fruits and two crystal glasses filled with iridescent liquid. Knowledge, stories, essence. Her lips curved. Not what you thinking, Commander, though your face is quite expressive when you blush. Marcus cleared his throat. I wasn't. You were. She motioned him to sit on one of the cushions beside the table. Humans are fascinating. Your bodies reveal what your words conceal. As he settled onto the cushion, Talia knelt across from him, the silver fabric pooling around her. She raised her glass to understanding between worlds. Marcus mirrored her gesture to understanding. The liquid tasted like honey and starlight, warming his throat and spreading through his chest. This is incredible, he said, examining the glass nectar of the luminous bloom. It opens the mind to new perspectives. She leaned forward. Essential for true cultural exchange. Is this going to get me court-martialed? He asked, only half joking. It's non-intoxicating by human standards, just enhancing, as if to prove her point. The freckles across her skin seemed to glow faintly, creating constellations he hadn't noticed before. Your freckles, they're luminescent. Yes, they respond to emotion and energy. She touched one on her wrist. Each pattern tells a story. What story are they telling now? Her eyes met his. Curiosity, anticipation. The air between them seemed to thicken. In Zarian culture, she continued, physical differences aren't hidden or shameful, they're celebrated. She gestured to her body. A reproductive pouch, for instance, it's considered a mark of feminine power. The ability to protect new life before it even begins on Earth. We're more private about such things. Yes, I've noticed. Her fingers trace patterns on the table's surface. Your species hides much of what makes you beautiful, your vulnerabilities, your desires. Marcus took another sip of the nectar. Maybe we're just cautious, or afraid. She tilted her head. What are you afraid of? Marcus. Ray. The use of his full name sent a shiver through him. Diplomatic incidents, mostly. She laughed at the sound. Like music. A safe answer. The bonding ceremony requires more honesty than that. What would an honest answer be? That you're drawn to me, despite or perhaps because of our differences, that you've wondered what it would be like to touch alien skin, that you're curious about how Zalarians express intimacy. His pulse quickened. That would be presumptuous, would it? She reached across the table, her fingers brushing his. The nectar reveals truth in auras. Yours is quite revealing. The contact sent electricity through his veins. What does it reveal? Desire, conflict, honor. Her thumb trace circles on his palm. Your species values restraint, mine values honesty. Perhaps we can find middle ground. Marcus found himself leaning closer. What does the rest of this ceremony involve? Traditionally, the sharing of life energy through physical connection. Her free hand moved to the chain at her neck. The stones record the harmony between participants. Physical connection, not necessarily what humans call sex, though that can be part of it. The stones at her neck pulse brighter. Our bodies can connect in many ways. The goal is resonance, finding the frequency where two beings vibrate in harmony. The Nectar was definitely affecting him, now her words painted vivid images in his mind. And if we were to attempt this? Ceremony Talia's freckles glowed brighter, then we would explore each other's differences with respect. And curiosity, learn what pleases, what resonates. She rose fluidly and moved. Around the table, kneeling beside him up close, her scent was intoxicating. May I? She asked, hand hovering near his face. At his nod, she traced her fingers along his jawline, exploring the texture of his stubble. Fascinating, she murmured. We don't grow hair this way. Emboldened, Marcus reached up to touch a strand of her silvery hair, and this not hair as you understand it, sensory filaments. They detect changes in energy fields. She leaned into his touch, there quite sensitive. His fingers moved to her freckled shoulder. You know, her skin was warmer than human skin, with a texture like velvet. Your touch feels different from Azarian's, she said softly, cooler. Firmer, good, different, or bad, different, just different. Her hand moved to rest over his heart. Your rhythm is faster than ours, 2 chambers instead of 3. As her palm pressed against his chest, Marcus felt a strange resonance, as if her touch was reaching inside him. What are you doing? He whispered, feeling your life force. Her eyes half closed. Humans burn so brightly, so quickly. Without thinking, he mirrored her gesture. Placing his hand over where he assumed her heart would be instead of a heartbeat, he felt a humming vibration. Her eyes opened, surprise evident. You're a quick study, Commander. I have an excellent teacher, Ambassador. The stones at her neck pulsed in time with the vibration under his palm. Her face moved closer to his, her breath mingling with his own. The ceremony traditionally continues in more private ways, she whispered, if you're willing to explore further. Marcus knew he stood at a crossroads, not just personally, but perhaps diplomatically as well. Yeah, I'm willing, he said, his voice steady despite the pounding of his heart. Show me. What began as cultural exploration quickly evolved into something more primal, the Zarian bonding ceremony, with its consciousness expanding. Nectar and emphasis on physical connection dissolved the barriers between them. Hours later, Marcus lay beside Thali on her bed, both breathing heavily, their bodies cooling in the aftermath of shared passion. The blue stones on her necklace pulsed with a steady, satisfied rhythm that was Marcus searched for words unexpected. Talia supplied her freckles glowing with a new pattern, one he hadn't seen before. Incredible, he corrected. I didn't know our species would be so compatible. She turned to face him, tracing a finger along his chest. The universe has a sense of humor. 2 species from different corners of the galaxy evolved under different suns, yet able to find pleasure together more than pleasure, Marcus said softly. Connection. Talia's smile faded slightly as she sat up, pressing a hand to her abdomen. Yes, perhaps more connection than I anticipated. Are you all right? I'm experiencing sensations I wasn't prepared for. Her brow furrowed. My reproductive pouch is reacting. Marcus propped himself up on his elbow, reacting how it's preparing for fertilization. She looked at him with a mixture of wonder and concern. This shouldn't be possible between our species. What? A Marcus sat up fully. Now you mean you could get pregnant? No, not exactly. She pressed both hands to the bulge between her legs, the very feature that had first caught his attention and sparked this entire adventure. Zolarian reproduction is complex. We don't conceive as humans do. The pouch beneath her hands pulsed, visibly causing her to gasp. Thalia, what's happening? Alarm crept into his voice. My body is responding to yours in ways I didn't think possible. Her silver eyes widened. The genetic compatibility sensors in my pouch have activated. They're analyzing your DNA. Marcus reached for his uniform pants. Should I call the medical team? No. She caught his wrist. This is private, sacred. Her expression softened. And not dangerous, just unprecedented. She guided his hand to her pouch. Through the thin fabric of her undergarment, he could feel warmth and a rhythmic pulsing. In Zarian reproduction, the female's pouch contains specialized cells that analyze a potential mate's genetic material. If compatible, these cells create a genetic template, a blueprint for potential offspring. And my genetic material triggered this process? Marcus asked, fascinated. Despite his concern, yes, which should be impossible. Our DNA structures are completely different. Her freckles shifted into new patterns as she spoke, yet something in you resonated with my reproductive system. Is it painful? Number intense, but not painful. She closed her eyes briefly. It feels like potential possibility. Marcus watched as the glow from her freckles seemed to flow downward, concentrating around her reproductive pouch. What happens now? Normally, this would be the first stage of a lengthy reproductive process, the template would be stored until I chose to activate it, combining it with another compatible template to create new life, and with me, I don't know, her voice held wonder rather than fear, and this is uncharted territory. Cross-species reproduction isn't documented between humans and Zarians. Marcus felt a strange mix of pride and terror. Should we be concerned? No, she placed her hand over his body. Won't proceed further without conscious activation. The template will simply be stored. So you're saying Marcus tried to process this information? Part of me is now preserved inside you as potential. Yes, a genetic echo, a possibility. Her eyes met his. Does that disturb you? He considered this. Actually, it's strangely flattering, though. Admiral Harrington might have different thoughts about my DNA being stored in an alien reproductive system. Thalia laughed, the tension breaking. I don't plan to include it in my diplomatic report. As her laughter subsided, she grew more serious. Marcus, there's something else you should know about this process. What's that? The compatibility analysis works both ways. My body wouldn't respond this way unless there was something uniquely harmonious between us. Her freckles pulsed brighter, not just physically, but energetically. Our life forces resonate. Meaning, this wasn't just casual pleasure between diplomats. Her hand caressed his face. My species doesn't form reproductive bonds easily or lightly. The fact that my body responded to you this way suggests something deeper. Marcus felt a weight settle on him, not unpleasant, but significant. I'm not sure I understand all the implications. Neither do I fully. She smiled, but I know enough to recognize that what happened between us is rare and precious. My people would consider us bonded. Now bonded as in joined, connected, what humans might call married, though that's an imperfect translation. Marcus blinked. That's fast by human standards, perhaps. She tilted her head. Does this make you uncomfortable? He considered the question carefully. Not uncomfortable, just processing. On Earth, these things usually happen in a different order. Tell me. Well, typically there's dating, getting to know each other, meeting families, planning a future together, then marriage, then reproduction. Considerations. Athalia nodded. We Zalarians believe the body's wisdom precedes the mind's deliberations. If two beings are truly compatible, their bodies recognize it before their conscious minds can analyze all the variables. Marcus found himself smiling. There's something refreshingly honest about that approach. Does this mean you're not planning to flee back to your quarters in panic? Her tone was light, but he sensed genuine concern beneath it. No fleeing. He took her hand. Though I might need some time to adjust to the idea that I'm apparently married to an alien ambassador after one night together. Her freckles glowed with what he was beginning to recognize as happiness. The universe works in mysterious ways, Commander Ray, that it does. Ambassador Thalia. He leaned forward to kiss her, but his comm unit buzzed insistently. Duty calls. He sighed. Always at the most inconvenient moments. She touched the still pulsing pouch. We have much more to discuss about this unexpected development. As Marcus dressed, he couldn't help but wonder how a simple case of anatomical curiosity had led to interstellar marriage and genetic bonding in less than 24 hours, and Admiral Harrington was definitely not going to include this in the mission briefing. Marcus' comm unit continued buzzing as he finished dressing. The message displayed made his blood run cold. Ray, Admiral's office immediately. Trouble? Thalia asked, wrapping herself in a silken robe. Harrington wants to see me immediately. Isn't usually a good sign. He ran a hand through his disheveled hair. How do I look? Like a man who's been thoroughly bonded with an alien ambassador. Her freckles pulsed with amusement. Perhaps it'll smooth your collar. As Marcus adjusted his uniform, Thalia's own communication device chimed. Her expression darkened as she read the message. What is it? He asked. The Zalarian High Council has requested an emergency conference. She looked up, concern evident in her silver eyes. Something's happening, Marcus. They shared a brief, intense kiss before duty pulled them in separate directions. Admiral Harrington's face was granite as Marcus entered his office. Lieutenant Commander Ray, he said coldly, would you care to explain why our intelligence division intercepted communications from a Zarian extremist group mentioning you by name? Marcus blinked. Sir Harrington activated holographic display. A message in Zarian script appeared with translation below. The human ray has contaminated Ambassador Thalia. The bond must be severed. Purity will prevail. What the hell is this? Marcus asked. That's what I'd like to know. Harrington's eyes narrowed. What exactly is your relationship with Ambassador Thalia? Marcus stood at attention, mind racing. Sir, the ambassador and I have been engaging in cultural exchange to facilitate better understanding between our species' cultural exchange. Harrington's voice dripped with skepticism. And does this exchange explain why you're mentioned in communications from the Purity Vanguard, a radical faction opposed to Zilerian human relations? I wasn't aware of any such faction, sir. Well, they're aware of you. Harrington stood, hands clasped behind his back. Commander Ray, I'm ordering you to return to Earth immediately. The US Horizon departs in 3 hours. Sir Marcus felt like he'd been punched with respect. We're in the middle of critical negotiations that are now compromised by whatever cultural exchange you've been conducting with the ambassador. Harrington's voice softens slightly. This isn't just about protocol. Ray, these extremists are dangerous. Your presence here puts both the mission and an Ambassador Thalia at risk. I can't just leave her, Marcus said before he could stop himself. Harrington's eyebrows Rose. Can't leave her? What exactly happened between you two? Marcus hesitated, then decided on honesty. Sir, Ambassador Thalia and I have formed a connection that in Zirian culture constitutes a bond similar to marriage. Marriage? Harrington exploded. In less than 48 hours, have you lost your mind? It wasn't planned, sir. It's a biological response. That spare me the details. Harrington pinched the bridge of his nose. This is exactly why we have protocols about fraternization with alien species. Sir, sending me away won't solve the problem. If these extremists know about us, they'll target Thalia, whether I'm here or not. Harrington studied him for a long moment. You care for her? Yes, sir, enough to disobey a direct order. Marcus straightened. I hope it won't come to that, sir. A tense silence filled the room before Harrington sighed. You have 3 hours to get your affairs in order. The Horizon leaves at 1,800 hours. Dismissed. Marcus found Thalia in the embassy's secure communication chamber, her face grim as she disconnected from her call with the High Council. They know, she said without preamble, about us, about the bond. Harrington knows too. He's ordering me back to Earth. Marcus took her hands. There's a radical group called the Purity Vanguard. I know them. Her freckles darkened with concern. They believe Zarians should remain genetically isolated from other species. They consider cross-species bonding a form of contamination. How could they know about us so quickly? Thea touched her still pulsing reproductive pouch. The bonding creates subtle biochemical changes. Another Zarian would detect them immediately. Harrington thinks I should leave for your safety. Her eyes flashed. And abandon our bond? That's the human solution. It's not my solution, Marcus said firmly. I won't leave you to face this alone. Relief washed over her features. The High Council has ordered me to return to Zaria immediately as well. They claim it's for my protection, but I suspect they want to study our bond. This kind of compatibility is unprecedented. Marcus paced the small room. So our respective governments both want to separate us, it appears. So she stepped closer to him. What do you want? Marcus, to stay with you. The answer came without hesitation. But I also have a duty to Earth, as I have to Zalaria. Her fingers traced his jawline. Perhaps there's a third option. I'm listening. We could request joint protective custody. Make the case that separating us could destabilize the bond with unknown consequences for both our species. Marcus grinned. Diplomatic blackmail, strategic negotiation. She corrected, her freckles pulsing with mischief. Both our governments want this treaty. Neither will risk a diplomatic incident. It might work. Fornish, Marcus admitted, but the Purity Vanguard won't care about diplomacy. No, she agreed, but they'll find it harder to target us if we're surrounded by both human and Zirian security. Marcus pulled her close, inhaling her cinnamon sea salt scent. I should have known that staring at your reproductive pouch would lead to interstellar intrigue. She laughed against his chest. Does it still intrigue you, human male? Everything about you intrigues me. His hands traced the curve of her back, especially how quickly you've turned my life upside down. A talent of mine. She kissed him deeply, then pulled back. We have work to do if we're going to convince 2 planetary governments to accept our bond. As they formulated their plan, Marcus couldn't help but marvel at how his diplomatic mission had transformed what began with awkward confusion over alien anatomy had evolved into something that might reshape relations between their species forever. And it all started with a bulge that caught his eye. The emergency summit convened in the station's largest conference chamber. On one side, the Earth delegation led by Admiral Harrington, his face set in stern lines. Opposite them, the Zirian High Council representatives, their orange skin displaying varying patterns of freckles that Marcus now recognized as indicators of their emotional states. And at the center of it all, Marcus and Thalia sat together, hands intertwined beneath the table. "This is unprecedented," said Counselor Narath. The eldest Delarian present his freckles form tight, anxious clusters. A spontaneous reproductive bond between species should be biologically impossible, yet our scans confirm it. Added Dr. Era, the Xerian Chief Medical Officer, Ambassador Thalia's pouch. Contains a viable genetic template derived from Commander Ray's DNA, restructured to be compatible with. Zalarian Biology Admiral Harrington leaned forward, "And you're certain this poses no health risk to either of them?" On the contrary, Dr. Ala replied, her freckles pulsing with scientific excitement. "The bond appears to be enhancing both their physiologies. Commander Ray's cellular regeneration has increased by 12% and Ambassador Thalia's neurological responses show improved efficiency." Marcus exchanged a surprised glance with Thalia. They'd submitted to preliminary medical scans, but hadn't been informed of these results. "The implications for interspecies medicine are extraordinary," continued Dr. Ola. "If we could understand how their bodies achieve this compatibility, we might revolutionize treatment options for both our species."